Welcome to Well, Well, Well. I'm your host, Laura Munkholm, and today we're discussing wellness and entrepreneurship. We'll be joined by Meghan Kinsey, the founder, owner, and health coach of Motivate Movement, a chain of boutique fitness studios in New England. Meghan has an extensive background as an educator, community organizer, even a city council member, and we're going to be discussing all facets of entrepreneurship and her predictions for the boutique fitness industry. I'm so excited to have Meghan here today because she is not just an entrepreneur and an inspiration to her community, but she has such a wealth of knowledge about health and joy, how to bring joy into your world, your life, to start every day with just kind of a sip of that to inspire yourself. What I'm excited to chat with Meghan about today is her background, not just in fitness, but as a community organizer, as a city councilor, as an educator, and now also as a podcast host. So I'll give you a moment to talk about that at the end today, Meghan. But welcome to the show. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me, Laura. I was tickled to get your email invitation, so I appreciate this. Thank you.
Well, Meghan is one of our clients at Walla and one of the clients that has just been a constant inspiration to us. So I'm really excited to hear your story today and have you share your wealth of knowledge about this industry with our listeners. So tell me a little bit about what led you to starting Motivate. What was the inspiration and what really got you going?
How long do you have, Laura? Well, to be fair, it was because it's absolutely something I was doing in regards to the instruction side, which I feel like a lot of us studio owners, that's how we found ownership. And I loved it. I loved teaching barre. At this point, gosh, it was after the birth of my third son. I had 3 boys in a row. Boom, boom, boom. And I had found a studio in Newburyport where I live that had just opened. And this is at this point like 2006, 7. And boutique fitness studios hadn't previously, at least in my world, existed. I think they were kind of hitting the major cities, but not. It was like just gyms, right? And when I walked by this studio, I remember being so curious. And from that curious moment on, it's kind of like I love to give that opportunity to people who might be finding us. Just as like, what is this? And then getting involved and opening the door and walking through the door and being nervous and all the things. But so instead of just standing there being nervous, I decided to kind of go for it. And I took my first class and I was pretty athletic all my life, competitively, like running and swimming. Every time I had a baby, I kind of would find something to do to kind of get back into shape because I just felt like I needed to, put a little more effort into it. So there was spinning at one point for, I think it was my middle son, my eldest son, I think it was body pump. Barre, I think I even called it barre when I first saw it. I'm like, what's this barre?
I love it.
Honestly, I think I did. And I remember being like, wait. First of all, there's like relatively no props. So like, that's interesting. We're in a smaller space and we're all kind of like, I don't know, there's this sense of community and everyone kind of moving. I had done Group X before, but it just felt different. It was smaller and sweeter. The music, she was phenomenal with the music. I keep saying her name was Amanda. She's since left the business, but she was trained by Jill Daly.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So I met Jill. It's like, Jill, like, you don't know me, but I feel like I know you. So anyway, I just loved it. And I'm going to fast forward quickly. Within a few months, she tapped me on the shoulder and said, I'd love to teach you to teach. Because she was pretty much a one-girl show at that point. I think she had maybe just trained one other person. Oh, yeah. I think it's Andrea, Bar and Soul. It gets
gosh.
Oh, yeah. It's very incestual. So I trained, mind you, I had 3 very young children, under 5, 3 kids. I was also training to become a birth instructor. I had already invested a certain amount of time and money into that. But I'm like, I can do this. I'll do both. Little did I know how intense a barre certification really is. Yeah. But I was up for the challenge. I think I swore I was going to quit once or twice in tears. And my husband's like, what's going on? You're not a quitter. Yeah. So there's that. Thank God he said that. So I became a barre instructor. I'll fast forward a little more, taught for a few years for her and then the person who bought the studio. So I was in this industry for at least, 8 years, give or take. So I could kind of feel out what this is about. Right. I was getting to this point in my life where I was ready to work again. I was stay-at-home mom, piecing together childbirth instruction, barre instruction. And I was going to go back into the classroom as a teacher. That's what my master's is in. But my heart was not in it. I was kind of, every time I got called for an interview, I kind of got a little sad. which kind of sounds like, wait, I put the resumes out there in the first place.
Yeah.
I just knew, well, intuition and me get along very, very well.
Yeah.
Like when my stomach's like saying, no, 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 I'm like, listen. So I kind of sat on it and thought, wait, I can do this. Mind you, I have 0 classes in business. But I just kind of felt like I can do this. And I just did. So there it was coming from that point to the point I opened a year later. I opened a sweet little studio in Newburyport downtown, and so small, so adorable. That was 2015, 10 years ago in March.
Oh my gosh, congratulations.
I know.
Well,
off and running.
I love that you said you and intuition get along and you are like this. I think that is such a critical piece of entrepreneurship. And I find so many times since starting Wallow when I don't listen to that and I listen to the quote experts or I go along with what somebody else thinks is the right path, I'm just kicking myself. So
right.
With that intuition, I mean, when you think about how you've grown, you've gone from one teeny tiny little studio to 2 to 3 and so on. Is there anything that said, hey, hold on, we need to change the method? Or, is there anything that's dramatically changed in the business model, the programming since you got going? And was that based on an intuitive gut or was it more clients asking for different modalities?
Both.
Okay.
Because I would actually say that when clients ask, that's reinforcing the intuition. So to back up, like if you spend that time, which I am so type A, if anyone, I'm talking slower than I often do because I'm doing that on purpose. I'm a girl from Jersey originally. I can talk fast, move fast. I get way. So if I slow it down, and I kind of build this into my mornings, and I tend to layer in this, I grab my coffee. I do not need to be reminded to have a cup of coffee in the morning, but I sit down with it because that begins the habit stack that I employ daily is sit, get quiet, breathe a little bit, pray, get quiet. Pray is considered talking. Meditation is for me listening. And when I just kind of create that space, it's not like I'm going to get some answer in that moment. But when I just create that space, it's like I have this opportunity to potentially see and hear things throughout my day and my week that I would otherwise have probably zoomed past and ignored.
Right.
So that could be opportunities, that could be conversations with clients, that could be things that just cross social media. It's always. So, but it's just like it just opens my eyes and ears and heart to listening to these things. So when I open the studio, instead of to start with, I'm not going to be just a bar studio. Not that that's a bad thing. It's just I knew that we needed a little bit more. It became Motivate Bar and Cardio at the beginning. I don't know if you remember like the way back when, this is before I was at Walla. And it was sweet and simple because of the small space. It didn't allow me much more availability. We eventually added cycle in there. We had a little small room that we added that in there. That was based on probably client questions and could we? I'm like, yeah, I think we could. When we moved, it was out of necessity. So my intuition actually gave me a quick little kick in the tushy, and got me out of bed during the shutdown and made me run 2 blocks up to the high school and run the stadiums.
Oh my gosh.
At sunrise in order to get out of my very anxious mind and body, which is, I'm 5 years in business at that point, 2015, and I'm about to close. And I was just like, this is ridiculous. I can't, this was the college education fund. That's what this whole thing was. I didn't work before. We didn't have a 529 for the kids. I was like, I can't let this happen. So in that state of stress and anxiety, I would move my body, which I found out via Dr. Andrew Huberman in his podcast is actually movement forward clicks you out of anxiety and into courage. So it's like, I found that out after the fact. And I'm like, well, that's interesting.
Yes.
Right? That's when I decided to expand because I needed to be in a footprint that allowed me to have clients in there at 14 feet apart coming back in because we're outside at this point. And so wouldn't you know, quiet yourself, listen. And next thing you know, I'm sitting in my hairstylist chair and she's like, so I just found this little spot. It's not even on like online. You wouldn't even know it's available, but I was thinking of you.
Oh my God.
And that's where I moved. Like 2 months later. Right.
So that's that.
And
years.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, it's great. And then I added strength because there's more space. So heavy weights came in because why? At that point, I was approaching my 50s and all the research is, I'm all up in Dr. Gabrielle Lyon. And I'm like, I need me some more protein and some more weights. So now we have a strength program. So I got the right people to get that started. Yeah, so that's kind of it. It's been continuing that way. I was ready to expand, but I was kind of scared. Ring-a-ling-a-ding-dong. A friend calls who owns a studio. She says, I'm going to close. I'm sending a Hail Mary. Do you want to buy me?
Oh my gosh.
That was my second studio. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. And then the third studio, that kind of was just because I was kind of putting it out there and looking, and sure enough, I found it.
Awesome.
So yeah, so intuition, I guess that's a long way of answering your question.
Well, intuition and just honestly being in the right place at the right time and doing the work. I mean, you got up and ran stairs instead of saying I quit, or you kept talking about it instead of, turning inward and just feeling sorry for yourself, which I think, every entrepreneur has done at some point. But so when we think about boutique fitness, and you fall squarely under that concept, you mentioned, you were early in the boutique fitness game as an instructor, and it's really true. I think it's evolved from these classes and gyms to businesses like yours. What do you think makes boutique fitness so special and so sticky?
The biggest word, and I know it's kind of overdone, but whatever, it's community. It's the squishiness of getting to know people. Like, I wish I had more time in between classes or just leaving and coming and going to invest in these conversations that we're having, because they could go on and on and on. Sometimes I feel bad. Like just today, I was like, I had to bolt. So I had to kind of shorten this conversation with a client that I would have loved to have otherwise, but I'm going to follow up with an email or text. I'll go back, because we get to learn about them. We get to learn oh my gosh, today Katie came back for the first time after her double mastectomy. And her hair is so wicked short and I love it. And I'm like we walk in and it's there's tears shed, there are hugs had, there are stories shared. It's just, I don't know. And then I feel like in today's day and age where people are moving fast and people are disconnected and working from home, or would rather spend time on a device, I just love looking at people in the eyes and having that 3-dimensional space and that energy exchange. I don't know many other industries where we get that much time with people daily, 4 or 5 times a week. I don't know if you can think of something. I was thinking a coffee barista, a quick conversation, because that's your coffee barista and you go by that store every day on your way to work. I don't know what else gives you that time.
No,
and it's amazing.
Even church, right? That's once a week. So
once a week.
This really is a unique industry. And when we think about that, I obviously in the years following when you opened your studio, I think 2017, 2018 was just this massive boom of boutique fitness. And we're kind of in that again, right? There are a lot of studios opening. What do you do about competition? What do you do about those challenges? And how do you feel like you guys really continue to be in this place of thriving in a really crowded industry, frankly? Yeah.
Well, first and foremost, I try to remember that my higher self should be collaborating and my lower self will be competing. So whenever the competitive voice comes and takes hold, I'm like, zip it, back off. Yeah. So I have to kind of talk her off the ledge. Yeah. Fortunately, I don't find myself having much trouble with that as much as I used to. And I think it's because when you're 53, you finally know who you are as a business and as a human being. And I don't know if they all kind of grew simultaneously. Perhaps they did. Maybe they're both tracking at the same rate. But I do know we are vastly different than anything else. Not better, not worse, just different. So I don't think that you can't compare apples and apples. I also do not take it personally when someone decides that we're not for them and they're not. That's fine. Why does everyone have to what we offer? It's impossible. We do offer quite a lot. And some people want to be really niched into I only want really just a yoga studio. I'm like, that's great. We're not that. We offer yoga. We expanded to offer that too, because I recognize that I needed to take it down. So
you get to be the customer that teaches you everything.
Oh my gosh. I add everything to the studio that I need for me. So let's just say that. But there's that. And then finally, at the same time that you're talking about boutique fitness booming and all, our collective health as a nation is plummeting and not getting any better. So we have way more customers than we could ever, all of us together, studio fitness industry, could ever handle. So why would we want to be like competitive about it? Like,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, let's dive into that a little bit. I mean, when we think about how the fitness industry, we've existed for a really freaking long time, right?
Uh-huh.
And we
Uh-huh.
still are struggling with this massive percent of the population that just really hasn't been able to click with the habit of fitness or wellness. I mean, there are consistent stats that we get about somewhere between 20 and 23% of people have some sort of a consistent membership fitness practice. And it's not that the other 80% don't try. They often do step in the door and then just walk right back out. And so what is it? How do you try to approach that client or that prospect who just really hasn't had success before?
Yeah, a lot of listening. First of all, availing myself. So I have many times, and this is the part of me that as I try to consider growth, like I think we have enough of the instructors will have this part of them, I don't know, teed up enough to have this same thing happen. I'm a health coach too. I did that when I was during COVID too, which really gave me the tools I needed to have these conversations much more than before. But I do a lot of, first of all, if you want to meet on the phone, do you want to meet on Zoom? Do you want to meet in the studio? Like some people want to literally walk in, and that just will give them this little bit of sense of calm. Like, all right, now I know where it is. Now I know where to park. I mean, it can be down to the nitty gritty of, when do I walk in? Is the door open? Where do I go once I'm in there? Like there's so many hurdles just lined up that need to be jumped over. Some people, they just ignore hurdles and they just barrel in and they're awesome and they're like super duper. And some people, completely on the other end of the continuum. I adore having those conversations with people. I would say, like, as a parent, there's love and there's discipline.
Mm-hmm.
My kids are 18, 21, and 22, all boys. So it's like I've had to, recognize that you have to kind of both need to come to the conversation. There's a little bit of that, I feel like, when you're getting to the point with clients where you're like, all right, I'm going to listen and love. But there's a conversation about the discipline of what we're doing. I always say that if Motivate was really called what I wanted it to be called, it'd be called discipline. But no one would come. So
I
didn't do
that. Humans
right,
are not like.
Right. So, but there is a point where you have to, okay, let's say you got there. Well, like if you saw it on our website, what class should I go to? The first one that you can go to based on your schedule. That's the one you should go to. Yeah. Because you're going to find 5 million reasons to talk to yourself. Well, I don't want that modality. That's a little bit, I don't want that instructor, that time, and da-da-da-da-da. Like, you're just going to have to get that stuff out of your way and recognize that might take a little bit of a discipline moment, or grab an accountability partner, a friend, so that you can hold each other accountable, walk the door together for the first time. Yeah. But yeah, like I listen, ask for some permission to offer a suggestion. And then hopefully sometimes it sticks. Sometimes I have that conversation with someone and I hear from them a year later and they want to have the same conversation. So some people take a little time. Yeah. And I love when they finally come, because it's so much fun when they walk through the door and like, I've been watching you on Instagram for 4 years. I'm like, 4 years.
Oh, that's the best. I love it.
Yeah.
So you're talking about growth, right? You're in this place of, I see amazing potential for this business. We have a committed following. We've kind of figured out the process that works. You, in all of your amazingness and energy and brightness, are not scalable, right? As a human being. So how have you approached looking at, and I'm guessing it's not the easiest thing in the world because I've faced these challenges too. How have you approached thinking about, scalable trainings and quoting you?
This cheer by exhale, that's like me trying to click out of fight or flight and into rest.
Sorry, that's not the question you'll get today.
It's like, it's going to, this type A, Virgo, oldest of 4, Enneagram 8, like there's nothing about me that's going to make this easy. But intuition shows up and she's like, it gives me a little smack upside the head. I am right now, having just opened the 3rd studio on January 2nd, timed. And these things, the tough things that we face are often the lessons we need to learn. One of my lead teachers went on maternity simultaneously to the studio opening.
Of course that happens.
Yeah. That, and then a few other family things that was definitely taking a lot of attention, quite literally time. But if not even that, like I just call that when there's too many programs open on the computer and the computer's overheating and it's it runs high. Like that's kind of where I've been the past 2 months. Oh yeah, here a little sidebar. What the instructor who is coming back in March from maternity, she came to the studio to take a class. I didn't realize that she was in the class. I go to all the studios to work out too. I rotate through.
Oh, love it.
I'm a big like walk the walk kind of gal. So I didn't realize she was there. So I'm like setting up myself in the corner, blah, blah, blah. I turn my head and she's all the other side of the room in the corner. I literally walk over to her, hug her, and I start tearing up.
Oh.
And yeah, I had just seen her on Sunday. So it wasn't like her being back in the space made me realize I'm almost crossing the finish line of what this past 2 months have been like. So that all being said, I know now that third studio was probably the last time I can do that the way I'm doing it. And in order to be effective, and why bother do this? I've come this far. Like I know what I know, and I definitely know that I don't know everything. Faux show. I am now working with a coach to properly scale in all things. We're looking at operations, we're looking at pricing, we're doing the deep dive, which is very uncomfortable.
Yeah.
So there's that. But yeah, it's a whole year. And my hope is that if I choose to do this again, which I feel like I could, it's done in a way that won't make me cry.
Oh, those tears are so helpful though. They're the best teachers.
They are the best teachers. So yeah, there's that. So yeah, so I'm learning. I'm like and I'm paying for that stuff is painful too.
Oh,
yeah. I'm like, you didn't come this far, girl, just to kind of wing it and tape it together. So yeah, there's that.
Good for you.
Thanks.
Well, I think, those rough patches end up being the things we look back and we're like, thank God there's no way I would have kicked my ass out of where I was to get to the other side unless that happened, because comfort is paralyzing, right? Like, especially when you get to a place in the business where you're like, oh yeah, everything's growing. I'm good. This is comfortable, right? So, I hate to say it, but sorry, the last 2 months where you're kicking the ass.
They were like comfort like kills. It's like I look at a muscle it's comfortable, it's soft, it's atrophied.
Yeah.
Like, let's just call it out. Like a muscle that's been working, and it's stressful to work a muscle. I'm a metaphor girl.
Yeah, go for it.
I mean, it rips it apart.
Yeah.
That's a good looking muscle.
Literally, the little fibers are being
literally. Oh yeah. Yeah. So yeah, I don't want to be a squishy, soft, atrophied muscle. No, give me the hard stuff.
Oh,
I'll do it.
So when obviously it sounds like a coach is going to be tremendously helpful, but do you have people, do you have friends, do you have buddies, accountability buddies, do you have mentors? Who do you lean on in this kind of journey that you've been going through?
That probably needs to be answered. I have come in and out of those situations, being part of mastermind groups of other fitness studio owners. The last time I was part of that was very instrumental. It's perfectly timed. That's how I found you.
Yeah.
I remember being on a call, and they're talking about reporting, and they're pulling reports with ease. I'm like, guys, where are you on the system? And I won't drop the name of the other system I was on, the other software, but are you still with blah, blah, blah? And I'm like, yeah, what do you mean? Isn't everybody? Because I was completely I had my blinders on, and they're like, no, darling, silly you. I'm like, ugh. So I finally, that was the kick in the pants to interview you. And then, okay, remember intuition I was talking about?
Yeah.
Then I'm listening to a podcast. She's interviewing you. And I was on the fence.
No way.
Yeah. And I was on the fence about which to use, because I back-to-back interviewed two. They gave me their sales pitch. And then I listened to you, and I'm like, well, there it is.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah. So I did that. I did a few things during the mastermind that changed. I updated my website. I dug down and made the effort based on watching other people make the effort before me and do it well. I mean, rough patches, sure, but it's helpful. And when you're a solo entrepreneur, you can very much silo yourself. Other than that, I would say the people I watch and all are probably, they don't know me personally. I'm watching them, listening to them on podcasts and stuff. I'm doing that stuff daily.
Right.
It's a waste of time to put hair and makeup on, so I can learn a lot during that time. So that's when I listen to that stuff, and that'll often resonate with me, and I'll act on things and deep dive to learn more about things that I know are weak points.
Yeah. I mean, I find that's a really common trait in entrepreneurs, especially successful entrepreneurs, is not just hearing something, but then acting. Like that gap between hearing and understanding and knowing something is good and the actual act of doing it or action taken to move in that direction is it's a big gap
I
between
use
the
that
two. And
that phrase. You got to do the doing that needs to be done
yeah, exactly.
to be your
Um,
fill in the blank.
Talk to me about what it was like to be a politician. Because I'm sure, I mean, first of all, it doesn't surprise me in the least knowing you. I'm sure you were amazing. But what got you into city politics? And
I know.
I mean, do you still take little nuggets out of that experience into your
Oh, heck yeah.
entrepreneurship journey?
It toughens you up.
Yeah.
It teaches you some boundaries. It also teaches you, I don't know if I had to be taught again. I told you all those, Enneagrams and whatnot. I have a tendency. My mom calls me confrontational. Instead of being upset by people calling me or saying, I go first, let's define that. What does confrontational mean to you? And when she defined it, I was like, thank you. Like stepping into that space without a lot of discomfort and speaking what needs to be said to establish a boundary. If that's confrontation, then yes, call me confrontational. Anyway, so I found that actually in a very lovely way. So when I moved to Newburyport, I was pregnant with the first one, completely disconnected. We had moved out of the north end of Boston. Before that, I was in Philadelphia. I knew not a soul. So here I am in Newburyport. It's winter. It was this time. Yeah, 23 years ago. And so I jumped into what was called the Newburyport Mothers Club. And it was great. It was very, very small and we're paper-based. That was a while ago. But I met people and immediately jumped on the board because I'm kind of I don't do well sitting in the back seat. Shocker. So I jumped in there and started doing something. But that's a great way to make friends. When you're working and meeting and talking and constantly, you're going to interact a lot. I'm still friendly with those people to this day who I was on the board with when I first did it. We became also known, this is the negative side of the Newburyport Mothers Club, not particular, but it's just Mothers Club. You're like the mom mafia. Like you can open and shut down businesses. I'm like, that's not necessarily what we wanted to be. But if used for good, very powerful, right?
Sure.
Okay. So I ended up rising the ranks to that of the presidency. And because this is now an 800 member club, which we grew from like under 200 when I joined, we were a beta group for something. What was that? It was before Facebook was existing. So a community based called Big Tent. We were one of their testing groups that we were communicating online with these like chat groups and whatnot and whatever iteration that was back then. So I got a call from the mayor of Newburyport at one point. And I'm like, man. So she wanted me to sit down at a round table to discuss. There's going to be a vote that they need to put on the ballot to do a debt exclusion, to build a new elementary school, renovate the upper elementary school, and a third vote would be for a senior community center. This is basically a huge undertaking. Supposedly, some of these things have been tried and tried again and failed miserably. But this means we were going to get half of it funded by the state. It was a big deal. So we're all sitting around the table and I'm like, I'm part of this. Like, I don't even know who's who, whatever. Next thing you know, I'm the freaking chair of this campaign.
And you have 800 moms behind you cheering on this debt exclusion.
Right. And everyone said the best thing ever happened was someone, at this point now Facebook maybe was coming on because I remember someone posted, you'll never win. And I was like, oh, that's exactly what I needed. Thank you very much. And I said, because then they're like, then some people were like, oh, you might win one of the votes, but definitely not two and no way three. So I was like, game on. Guess how many we won, Laura?
All of them.
Gorgeous brand new school. So anyway, I did that, loved it. I just kind of rode that wave right into elected office because I was like, this is fun getting crap done.
Yeah.
I also was we were called Port Pride. We combined with another group and overhauled the high school stadium, which was decrepit. It was like such a treasure that was just, we ended up doing that, turf that. Oh, it's awesome. And it's great because my kids like play lacrosse on it and graduate on it and all the things. Anyway, I realized that I liked doing those kind of community-based projects way more than elected. Because elected, there's a lot of meetings and a lot of listening and a lot of constituent meetings and a lot of mean people. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of nice people. There's a lot of mean people who come up and just are mean.
Yeah.
And I had a hard time with that because I didn't want to live in the same area where I was interacting. Like I go to the coffee shop and I hear someone mouthing off behind me. I'm like, of course I'm going to introduce myself because I'm confrontational.
Confrontation.
Right. And, I've had words. So yeah, it was fine. But I just realized you don't actually have to do the elected part of it. It's almost like you're untethered. You get a lot more done on the outside. So I did like combining what we do at the studio with raising money for the Newburyport Education Foundation. We did the Port Plankathon.
Oh my gosh, I love it.
It was so much fun. The gym was filled with people and planking and like planking as long as they could for money. And we raised thousands of dollars. It was so great. I know, right? Those records are amazing. That woman is stellar.
It's like a grandma that holds the world record for the longest plank.
I love it. I love it. I love it. So yeah, so it was fine. It's a shame because I wish people were nicer to elected officials. I think we'd have more really solid people in there. But it's almost like you have to be a bit of a masochist.
Yeah.
Kind of walk into that space. And that's really hard.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I would never be mean to an elected official, even if I disagree with them. Yeah. Because I've been there and done that. That's not who I am anyway.
Well, I'm sure that especially, like you said, the resilience that you're able to bring into business ownership is probably invaluable. It's so hard to... Obviously, we care, all of us in this industry, we care so much. We're so passionate about the people we serve. And when you have someone come in who's angry or upset or, has a really strong opinion about something you've done in your business, I think the tendency is to take that personally because everything we're doing has so much intention behind it.
Yeah.
But
agreed.
I imagine it served you well to be able to say, you know what? All right, we're just not for you.
Yeah, and that's okay. Right. I wish I had the health coaching behind me as well as counsel. I would have probably asked more questions and then they would probably... I did actually have more than one conversation online that it's very different when you meet a person in person. So I asked this one guy, Larry, to coffee. He's one of my favorite stories, Larry. We met for coffee. 2 hours later, we are hugging.
Oh.
He's asking me to run for mayor. Like I see him in the food store and he's like, so yeah, I turned him around. But you usually can if you have a conversation and you realize you have way more in common than you ever thought. You just, it's okay if we have a little bit of a different way of acting on that goal, but I don't know, if people gave it a little more time, it's anyway.
Yeah, I know. It's like that. I'm forgetting who the quote is, but it's once you learn somebody's story, it's impossible not to love. Like you can't hate somebody once you know their story. Gosh, well, on that note, let's talk about the future of this industry, the wellness world, just in general. Tell me about your predictions, like 5 years, 10 years down the road. What does the wellness world, the fitness and wellness industry look like, or what do you hope it looks like?
Honestly, I hope it doesn't look that different than it does now. I know that a lot of studios are kind of becoming like one huge wellness space, where you can, all the recovery elements can be added in. And then you can get like all the infusions, and that includes like the peptides and all that. And I see the benefit, but it also reduces the intimacy. And so I'm always kind of, I think about things like getting bigger, like quite literally a footprint becoming like bigger, like 2 rooms. And then you've got like, the desk staff. And I don't know. I just, sometimes when I'm like, gosh, well, would it feel the same? And I don't know. I think that, obviously like Lifetime and things like that exist. And they've got everything, so many bells and whistles. But if you can make it small inside and compartmentalize a little bit, I guess it could work. But I don't want to lose that intimacy.
Yeah.
And so I hope there's always a place for people like me who, if they want to expand, they just create more of them because they create more intimate spaces in different communities with a common sort of theme or thread about, all the studios that kind of ties us all together. So, and you mentioned the word joy. That's one of my favorite words. And I feel like when we're doing a good job and we're living well and when things are in balance and when we're living sort of like an examined, mindful life and improving upon those weak places and maybe dialing back things that we're like, oh, that's probably not serving us. Like once that all kind of settles, like that's, I think, where joy lives. Mm-hmm. And it's not contingent on the circumstances of your life. Like those 2 months I just talked about, which to be fair, it's not March yet, I'm still in it, I still felt joyful. And I'm not a liar, so it's hard for me to go to the studio. Like, people will be surprised when they found out that the circumstances were such that I was kind of going crazy a little bit, but still, like, in the middle of all that chaos, very calm and peaceful and joyful.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Well, I think that is the perfect note to wrap this conversation and container on, except I love to ask a fun question. And I spun my wheel right before this to see what question you would get at the end of our conversation today, just to get a little deeper into knowing you. Who is your favorite person to follow on Instagram right now? Like, who do you open up your phone or on social media, X, whatever it is? Who do you open up your phone and you're like, oh, what do they have to say this week?
Oh, this, should I stay in the health and wellness realm?
Could be anybody.
Because this could make someone be like, I don't like her anymore.
Oh,
well,
we all
okay.
Those. And you want to watch just to see if they start failing.
I know, right? Let's see. Because there's so many different realms I enjoy. All right, so let me preface it with this. I love people who swim upstream. Whether I agree with where they're swimming or how they're swimming, I enjoy the tenacity, I don't know what it is. Someone who's just willing to kind of flip the bird at whatever industry or group that's kind of trying to put them in a box. I think that is just, it just speaks volumes. I don't know. And if they do it well with class. All right. So on that note, Barry Weiss, she does a podcast called Honestly.
Okay.
Her backstory is she works for the New York Times, and she's at the top of her game, journalist in the New York Times. I don't know if she's on the op-eds or what, I'm not even sure. And she started questioning things and investigating, and she was getting shut down and quieted up. Like, that's one space you're not supposed to be quiet. That's one space where you're supposed to be doing the digging in.
Yes.
And she was very disenchanted by the whole thing. And on her website is her resignation letter. And she started the Free Press. I just like when people bring many different opinions into the same room.
Yeah.
Or podcast or platform. Because everything is so compartmentalized. Like, if you think that, then go over there. If you think that, then go over there. Well, how do y'all share ideas and learn?
Yeah,
if you're there and you're there.
Right.
Right. So she kind of creates that. So she'll have like polite little debates with two people, and I'm listening to them and they're doing it well. And again, politely. So I like the fact that she avails herself in this podcast called Honestly. Yeah, she's kind of interesting.
Great.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, on that note, I will have to look that up. I love people who swim upstream also.
Mm-hmm.
But speaking of podcasts, you are launching a podcast right now. I mean, are we allowed to talk about this? Can I bring it up?
We are. We're not. Okay, so we're technically up. We haven't pushed it out there. I wouldn't have this little setup.
I know.
I'll pull up in one of my college kids' rooms because, like, when he comes back for the summer, I'm going to be like, I got nowhere to go. So my sisters and I, there's 4 of us, as I told you, but 3 of us are joining forces. I don't even know how we decided to do this. We kind of just threw it out there and it stuck to the wall. We're going to do a podcast. We're doing it. We're building a few on. When does this get published?
Mid-March. So
okay. So we should be out there by then. Yeah. So we're doing a podcast called Did You Poop Today? A podcast by 3 shameless sisters.
Oh my God.
We were raised by a woman who swam upstream. Shocker.
Yeah.
And maybe I'm just born that way. I'm a 71 gal. And you can actually track my life with the collective health of the nation kind of taking a turn, the ultra processed foods coming into play and all the things. So anyway, she kind of raised us in a very different way. Like, there was no sugar in our house. We were like going to chiropractors when people didn't even know what they were. Yeah. So we all kind of found ourselves, my sisters, Bridget, Kate, and I, in sort of a health or a wellness sphere. Not like deliberately, we just kind of did. And we've all kind of raised our kids in a similar yet different fashion. We also span, Bridget just turned 40. So for a moment, we spanned 3 decades. Yeah. I'm in my 50s, Kate's in her 40s, Bridget was in her 30s, but just turned. So we're having a fun conversation about health matters but in a very irreverent, cheeky way. Like, you're not going to come to us looking for medical advice. We were just asked actually yesterday, we had a meeting about co-hosting a retreat together.
Oh my gosh.
And we're not even out there yet. I'm psyched.
That's amazing. Well, those of you listening, please check it out. I mean,
did you poop today?
Easy question to ask. Did you poop today?
It's very telling. The answer to that will give you some certain information. Yeah, that, or find me on my website, motivate-movement. Oh my gosh, motivate-movement. Holy moly. Motivate-movement.com.
It'll be in the show notes. Don't worry.
Oh, good. And we go to Tulum in 2 weeks. Oh, thank God.
Goodness. I am very jealous.
Love those retreats.
We cannot
keep
following you. Yes. Go.
You got to come to retreat, girl.
No, I do. I really do. Well, check out her retreat. She does. I mean, you've been to Portugal. Aren't you going to Greece at some
Greece in October? Yep.
Yes. There you go.
Croatia is getting booked up for 26. I'm planning that one up next.
Well, listen, if you want more of Meghan's energy, which I am sure all of us do, we need more of your joy in our lives.
For better or for worse. Take it or leave it. I get it. I'm not for everybody.
Oh, well, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
And good luck with your growth.
Thank you. I very much appreciate, and the fact that I've got Lala makes it way more possible. How's that?
Hey, like the shameless plug at the end there.
Walla. I can do a jingle.
You can sing for us. All right. Well, we'll see you next time, guys. Keep listening. We've got some exciting guests coming later this month, and we'll see you soon.